beautiful, amazing day to all people of the way. Welcome to yet another edition of Truth Talk Tuesdays.
Yes, and today we'll be speaking about projection and cult psychology and how you can raise your awareness in order to be able to transcend these paradigms.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we move through the energy and manifestative portal that is 2/22/2022, it's a very, very exciting time that we are living through, where we are able to now more than ever make manifest the reality that we desire. We thought it such an important topic of conversation to have, because really what these paradigms do is they limit us. And because we live in such an egocentric society and culture that has us place not us, not who we really are, but our ego, we project, we put out our perspectives, our desires above all else. And that keeps us from growing and becoming who and what we truly are, in essence, at our core. And we'll begin by first defining what projection is. Projection is basically outputting and expressing our own understanding, our own previous understanding of what we know to be true, what we think we know to be true, without taking any external insight, knowledge, wisdom. That's what projection is. It's literally just expressing what we think we know to be true without receiving. And that restricts the flow of the universe's wisdom to flow through us, and the wisdom of all of those around us. And that's literally what we find today, in those that surround us. And you observe it in one instance, for example, when we're having a conversation with someone and you can tell they're not really listening to you. They're waiting to speak.
Yeah.
And this is what most people do. Most people, just about anyone knows how to talk, right? But very few people know how to communicate. Just about anyone
to actually listen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Communication is a receiving and reciprocating. And when you are projecting, when you're simply waiting to speak, when you are talking with someone, you are literally just waiting to impose your viewpoint. To impose is to project. To impose your understanding on that person without receiving the insight, the wisdom, and the knowledge, the unique perspective that that person can give you. You are literally holding yourself back from growing because you are not willing to empathize and sympathize with that individual. And you stop yourself from learning even more than you could.
Yeah, and in a way, you're disrespecting that person as well, because you're not listening to what they're saying, and by projecting your own thoughts and perception onto what it is that they are saying, you're just disregarding what they're saying completely. And so you're saying that what you have to say is not valid because I already have a prior belief on what it is you're talking about. So my belief is the only one that stands. And you see it everywhere. You really do. So many.
We've experienced it directly. We've experienced it directly with certain individuals, who perhaps don't understand our twin flame dynamic, who don't understand the connection that you and I share, Samantha, that don't understand that we have such a strong bond and connection, though at such a distance from each other.
Yeah,
because we also understand that distance is an illusion. We understand that distance, like time, is an illusion, but they perhaps don't understand that. And so they project their past experiences with what intimacy is, with what love is, and they miss out on the bigger picture. Our experience as twin flames can teach them so much, but they hold themselves back and instead remain in their comfort zone, projecting their understanding onto us.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just one example of projection. You also see this in your own blood relatives, to expand on that point, on the previous point that we just made. They impose their understanding of the way life is supposed to be, of the way that reality is supposed to play out. And because that's all they know, instead of receiving the unique insight that we gain through our own personal life experiences, that can bring them even more awareness, that can bring them even more wisdom, they disregard it for a number of reasons. Perhaps because we're younger, because we're less experienced than they are, because of the gap in age that we have. A lot of things take place like this that hold our parents and our family back from understanding us.
Absolutely.
They impose
Yeah.
their opinions on spirituality, diet, the way that we take care of ourselves, our relationships. They impose their understanding, their current understanding and their previous understanding and prior experiences onto us.
And so that's projection from another onto you. Then we also have projection where it's within yourself onto things that you think you know. Right? That's something that we're learning about very recently, just now, in regards to the way that we eat, and the way that we perceive food. And we have been taught our entire lives that there's good food and there's bad food, and the way that affects our body. Do we want to expand upon that much today, or do you want to leave that for another? I mean, that is an entire topic of itself, but
it is.
Learning from what we've been learning now is just how we just completely project our previous beliefs onto things that may not even be that way.
Right. And yes, that is a topic of discussion we very much look forward to having with you guys when we do another Thriving Thursday video. We miss doing those, and we'll get back to doing those soon. But yes, we've learned so much in regards to our understanding of nutrition and diet and how we nourish ourselves through the food that we eat. We've been taught our whole lives to make distinctions between healthy food and unhealthy food, good food or bad food. And what if it has nothing to do with whether a food is healthy or unhealthy, but it has everything to do with your perception and your general attitude, your overall attitude and disposition towards that food that either makes you healthy or unhealthy? What if that's the case? Because how can you explain someone who does all of their blood tests and does all of the procedures to show you that they are healthy, and yet they are alcoholic? They indulge in whatever kind of food that they want. They eat fast food all the damn time, and yet they are healthy. They are in balance with their body.
Yeah.
Whereas someone who is obsessed with their health, and I know y'all know someone, y'all know maybe a few people, perhaps, that are crazy about being healthy, about eating only vegetables, only fruits, and yet they have aches and pains, yet they're not thriving. How do you make sense of that? So that's just a nugget that we'll leave you guys with, right? To start your appetites for that discussion. But again, our own projection and imposing our understanding of what we think we know to be true is just a part of our comfort zone. That's all it is. And cognitive dissonance is when we see something to the contrary occurring in the external world that completely contradicts what we think we know to be true. That's really a clue that should tell you you are projecting your understanding of reality and your previous experiences onto what is.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a huge marker.
It is.
And you can either take that as an opportunity to ask deeper questions, to expand your awareness and elevate your consciousness, or you can disregard it because it doesn't align with your current philosophy, with your previous understanding on things.
That's right.
And so, yeah, that's projection. Projection is basically happening on an individual scale.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to cult psychology, this is basically projection happening on a mass scale.
Yeah.
And there are countless examples of this at play in society today. I mean, you see it in our culture in general, in the area that we live, in the country or the continent we live in, according to the cultural traditions and norms. You see this happening in religion. That's a huge example. You see this happening in the financial industry, where you are programmed to work in a certain way for your benefit and to discard the interests of those around you in order for you to get ahead. And you believe that is the philosophy and the mentality that will serve you best, when that may not be the case. That's just the way that you were taught, to put yourself first instead of others.
Yeah.
So that's cult psychology at work as well. For example, Wall Street. That's an entire culture. That's an entire cult that has its own mentality and philosophy. It is complete dog eat dog. No one gives a shit about each other. That's one philosophy. You see this also at play in the public school sector.
Yeah.
You know, that
Definitely.
this is the way to learn. This is the way, becoming a computer for storing data, as opposed to learning true principles for thriving in life, as opposed to teaching you actual finances and things that you're actually going to apply. That's another realm of cult psychology. You know, and God, one thing that really hits close to home, and I wrote about this today in today's Truth Talk Tuesday, is in regards to my own direct family. You know, they are a result of what happens when you are deeply affected by cult psychology. You know, my whole family is locked into what can only be described as a religious cult. You know, and you see that even though they live such unhappy and unfulfilling lives, they stick to what they do because they feel it is their duty to believe. Yeah. They feel it is their duty to do what it is that they do because that's all they've been taught. And so...
yeah, go on. No, you're right. You finished.
And so when I started questioning, wait a minute, is this like how we're meant to live though? Like, is this how reality actually works? Is this for real? I got demonized for it and was outcasted for it because I chose to live differently. Yeah. You know, it deeply affects me to this day.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that cult psychology is very fear-based. You know, you are rooted in fear. You're in a constant fear of, if I don't do this, then this could happen, or if I follow this is what I'll get from it. So, you know, if I'm not following it, then I won't be able to experience that. And so you're in this constant fear of, what will I miss out on? Or, you know, what will I, not be able to experience, you know, and
enjoy.
Enjoy, exactly. Yeah. And it just keeps you locked in fear, which we know is the opposite to how we should be living in leading a fulfilling life, in living aligned with your spirit. You must live in peace and not in fear. And yeah, it's hard to see that, but people really need to be able to see it for themselves, you know, to be able to critically think And, you know, when people pose questions against what it is that they believe, why are they not able to back themselves up? Why is it that they are just reacting rather than actually reasoning? Oh, you're right.
They completely bury their heads in the sand.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Like how they la la la.
Yeah,
they close their ears. How are you meant to prove that you have the one and only truth
Exactly.
if you can't even engage in a conversation that challenges your ideology? You just shut yourself off.
Exactly. Anything, and that's what they're taught. If anything goes against what it is that you believe, you just don't listen to it. You do not allow that person who is bringing a different belief to you to even speak to you, because you don't want their mind being changed, and that's how indoctrinated they really are. And they won't listen to anything anybody else has to say if it goes against their own beliefs. They think you're speaking for the devil when it comes to religion, right?
Ridiculous, man. And again, not just with religion,
no,
but with any sector, any area of life. If you only adopt one perspective and you hold that to be the truth, how limiting is that? We are limitless. We are eternal, infinite beings.
Yeah.
And so when you hold one perspective as the one and only truth, how much are you holding yourself back?
Well, you're just limiting yourself. Yeah.
You're holding yourself back from becoming everything it is that you could be, everything it is that you truly are when you adopt just one perspective in any area of life, be it through your concept of finances and how you conduct business, how you're meant to treat people in business, in relationships, whether your ideology is right or wrong, and trying to prove and disprove other people instead of being open to everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when you are open to everything, you open all of your potential. You expose yourself to absolutely everything. And how can you ever come to know yourself when you don't remain open-spirited, open-hearted, and open-minded? How can you become who you truly are? It's an impossibility.
Right. And so how do we do that?
Yeah. I mean, it leads into our third point. Last but not least, how can we avoid these traps in consciousness in order to expand our consciousness and elevate our awareness? How can we do this? We do it through critical thinking. And this video is really like a part 2 to last week's discussion on critical thinking and introspection, because it's through reflection and introspection that we are able to begin thinking for ourselves. That's what we want to do. We want to begin thinking for ourselves, asking questions about what we have been taught. Because if we don't, how can we know it is the truth? If we hold ourselves back and we just, accept what we've learned as the end all be all, and that's it. There's just nothing else.
Yeah.
If we don't start asking those questions, how can we embark on the journey to overcome these very limiting and harmful paradigms?
Exactly. And in asking those questions, I feel when you find yourself reacting to something and putting up like a wall and trying to defend yourself, just take a step back and observe yourself and see what you're doing in that instant. It's why am I jumping on the defense straight away and just reacting and projecting straight away what instantly comes to my mind, rather than really just being open to listen. You don't have to agree with everything, right? Not everything may be for you. But
don't take anything at face value. Take nothing at face value.
You just have to be open enough to be able to hear that person out and to be able to respect what it is that they are telling you, what they are expressing for themselves. Because most of the time people projecting will just not respect what they have to say, and eventually will just cut that person off because they don't have the same belief as them, right? So you don't have to have the same belief, but being open enough to hear, to listen, to be able to communicate and have a flow in discussion, right? And not projecting your own. Normally it's hurt and pain, right? When people project, because somebody who's actually healed, they don't project. They will sit back and listen, and they take nothing personally. You know, so somebody who's projecting, again, is really taking a hit. They're taking it very personal in regards to anything that it is that you have to say that goes against their beliefs.
Because they fully identify
yeah.
with whatever it is that they hold to be true.
That's
and
right.
that right there is stopping that person from letting the flow of universal intelligence to flow through them. Because in order for that to happen, you must be able to fully receive and reciprocate.
That's right.
Equally. You're receiving and reciprocating your unique level and expression of universal intelligence with that which is all around you. With those all around you. When you fully identify with anything, you are limiting yourself. You are forgetting momentarily that you are infinite, you are eternal, you are limitless, you are boundless. You are everything. You are all of these things and none of them at the same time.
That's right.
Yeah. And so when we think for ourselves, when we begin to think critically, when we begin to ask questions, we start seeing that our perspective isn't the only one. So many things can teach us. We begin to realize everything can teach us. Everything serves us. If we're right, great. We'll continue to empower and encourage that line of thinking. However, if we engage in discussion, we don't have conversations to debate. When you live from this state of consciousness, you don't have conversations anymore to debate, even if it's with someone that may have a different viewpoint. You come from the perspective of, I am here to learn. I am not here to prove myself right or to prove you wrong. I'm here to learn. And whether I'm correct, I'm still confident in my hypothesis. You know, make no mistake, you're still confident in your hypothesis, but you do not identify with it.
No, that's right.
That's where projection ends. Projection ends when you do not identify fully with anything, and yet you are fully confident in what you feel and think you know.
That's right. So powerful.
And you simply, it's very powerful. Your way of interacting with other people, your way of relating to the opposite sex will be more meaningful. Your conversations in general in life will have more depth and significance because you're truly wanting to see how you can learn and how you can benefit and bring out the most, therefore, in the other party.
That's right.
And explore how that party can bring out the most in you at the same time.
Definitely can. That's right. And instead of creating this tension between people, this negative energy, really, because when you're projecting and when you're putting your own beliefs onto someone else, you are creating this negative energy. It's really not a nice vibration. You don't really want to be communicating with a person that is like that, because it is very negative. You know, instead of being like that, you know, you want to create this beautiful positive flow of energy with all people that you connect with, right? We always want to leave people better than we found them. So even if we don't agree, we can still have this beautiful open communication with them and leave it at that. You know, you don't have to take anything on, but you are able to listen, respect, and ultimately create this loving environment regardless of what it is about.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, for lack of better words, those that are afraid to do so are literally stuck with their head up their ass.
Yeah.
You know, they're way up inside their head, and they are afraid to take any contradicting knowledge according to what they know, against what they know. You know, you see this with stuck-up women and men, you know, who think they're all that, but in reality, their energy sucks and their spirit is whack.
Yeah.
You know, because of the way that they interact with the world. You know, and they're not even aware of how that is affecting them. They have no clue.
No.
You know?
And so at the end of the day, it's really raising your awareness.
Yeah.
Right? And the more awareness you have, the more in tune you are with all of these things, and you're able to see it a lot more clearly.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And as always, with each of our discussions and conversations that we have, it's all about elevating our awareness so that we can live the highest quality of life possible. That is what we are here to do at the end of the day. And when we don't limit ourselves according to what we know now and what we've previously known, and we open ourselves up to everything and everyone around us, fully trusting, again, not being afraid. There is no fear in love.
Exactly.
There is no fear in the truth. And that is the most beautiful thing.
Really
We're able to receive and reciprocate the energy between everyone and everything, and that allows for universal intelligence to flow through us. And we will live even more fulfilling, meaningful, and inspiring lives that will make an impact, a long-lasting impact in the lives of those around us and those that observe us. And that's really what it's all about at the end of the day.
It is. It truly is. And so with that, may we remind you that you are the author of your story, the artist of your painting, and may you be inspired to create a masterpiece of a life tailored by your desires.
Absolutely. And with that, we thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. And until next time, we leave you all in truth, beauty, and love.